Welcome to the Techtopia. Today, we're getting into something pretty serious. The GBU-57 Massive Ordnance Penetrator. This is a weapon that really pushed the limits, didn't it?
It absolutely did. And, the key thing to grasp about the MOP, the GBU-57, is why it exists.
Right.
It's not just about a big explosion. It's specifically engineered to go after targets buried incredibly deep, things heavily fortified to withstand, well, pretty much anything else.
Okay, so that's our mission for this deep dive.
Yeah.
Figuring out what makes this thing tick, why it's considered the top non-nuclear bunker buster out there based on the material we've looked at.
Exactly. How does it actually do that, overcome those huge challenges?
So let's start with the basics. I mean, the sheer size of it is pretty mind-blowing.
Oh, it's immense. We're talking a 30,000-pound bomb. It's guided, of course. Compare that to older penetrators like the GBU-28, which was around 5,000 pounds.
That's a six-fold increase.
Pretty much. To give you a sense of scale, it's over 20 feet long, about 2.5 feet wide, and weighs around 12 tons. Think like two big elephants. And this wasn't just, let's build a bigger bomb for fun. It came directly from intelligence, showing a whole new category of super hardened, deeply buried sites that earlier weapons just couldn't touch.
Okay, so a very specific threat drove this. What was the trigger point?
Well, after the invasion of Iraq back in 2003 analysis, it showed pretty clearly that the bunker busters they had then weren't getting deep enough or doing enough damage against the really tough targets.
Right, the most protected ones.
Exactly. And that finding really put the MOP project back on the front burner. It had been initiated earlier by DTRA, that's the Defense Threat Reduction Agency.
DTRA. They handle WMD threats, right?
That's their focus.
Yeah.
So it shows you the kind of targets they were thinking about. This filled a critical need the Air Force had identified for a very large penetrator. Boeing ended up being the ones to build it.
So 30,000 pounds.
Yeah.
How does it actually deliver the knockout punch so deep underground and stay accurate?
Yeah, the tech inside is fascinating. The warhead itself is huge, over 5,300 pounds of specialized explosives. It's a mix, AFX-757 and PBXN-114.
And those aren't just standard explosives.
No, they're designed to be insensitive,
Oh.
which basically means they can survive the massive shock of hitting the ground and penetrating deep without breaking apart or losing effectiveness. They deliver the energy after they get inside.
That makes sense. You need the boom at the bottom, not on the way down.
Precisely. The casing itself is incredibly tough, some kind of high-density steel alloy. And for accuracy, it uses GPS coupled with an inertial navigation system, gets it within a few meters.
And the fuse, I read something about that being pretty clever.
Very clever. The Large Penetrator Smart Fuse, or LPSF. It can actually figure out how deep it needs to go and adjust the detonation time. And yes, despite some early confusion, sources confirm it does have void sensing capability.
Void sensing. So if it hits an empty space inside the bunker.
That can trigger detonation right there.
Yeah.
Crucial for complex underground layouts.
That's a big deal. Okay, and how does something this heavy, basically a flying telephone pole, stay stable and on target?
It's got these really unique tail fins. They're called trellis fins, sort of a lattice grid design.
Unusual looking.
They provide really fine aerodynamic control, allowing tiny adjustments on the way down to nail the target coordinates. And because it's so massive, only the big bombers can carry it.
Like the B-2.
Exactly. The B-2 Spirit is the primary platform. They refitted them to carry 2 MOPs each. It's also slated for the new B-21 Raider. And the B-52 is used for testing, too.
The development wasn't exactly smooth sailing initially, though.
No, there were some early attempts around 2002 that hit roadblocks. But that post-2003 intelligence really gave it momentum. The first big explosive test was in 2007.
And when did they actually get into service?
The Air Force got the first batch, about 20 bombs, delivered by September 2011. And even then, development continued. In 2012, the Pentagon asked for, I think it was over $80 million, just to improve it further, boost its penetration power.
$80 million for upgrades. Wow. Any idea what one costs?
Each unit is roughly $3.5 million, give or take.
So the big question, how deep can it actually go?
Early estimates were around 200 feet, so about 60 meters, through reinforced concrete. But, the MOP has been upgraded multiple times. There are at least 7 generations.
7?
Yep. Variants like the GBU-57EB, which has been around since at least 2016, are understood to have significantly better penetration.
Yeah.
And there's even talk about maybe developing a lighter version, perhaps for fighter jets.
Interesting. Expanding its use. So, summing up, the MOP really is this incredibly specialized weapon. It wasn't just built bigger for the sake of it, but as a direct counter to very specific, very challenging underground threats identified from real-world intelligence.
Absolutely. It highlights the kind of resources and, frankly, the engineering ingenuity that gets poured into solving these incredibly difficult military problems, tackling targets that were thought to be almost untouchable.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener. What does this constant drive, this investment in super specialized, incredibly powerful conventional weapons designed for deep penetration tell us? What does it suggest about the future of warfare, the kinds of threats nations foresee, and, well, the length they'll go to counter challenges hidden deep underground?
It's definitely something to think about the sheer engineering focus required when these specific strategic gaps appear. Quite remarkable, really. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a Tech Talk with us. Got a question or topic you want us to cover? Drop it in the comments. This is Techtopia, where your curiosity fuels the conversation.